So, what creates a happy relationship, or at least a successful relationship with some great moments of happiness? Okay, we'll talk about the 7 principles for making a successful relationship, as well as 2 additional pieces that are really important. Imagine this. Imagine a house that has 7 floors and 2 walls holding it up. Okay? So let's start at the bottom. The very bottom level of the sound relationship house, we call it, is love maps. Love maps are how well do you know your partner's internal world, their feelings, their beliefs, their values, their ethics? How well do you know your partner's history? How well do you know your partner's likes, preferences, choices, needs? Those are love maps. How well do you feel known in all of those different realms? Well, that's all part of love maps too. And the best way to create love maps is to ask each other questions that have big, broad, expansive answers. Questions that are just one-word answers, but ones that have whole paragraphs for answers. Like, tell me why purple is your favorite color. Okay, there's a simple question, but it's got a bigger answer. That's love mapping. So in a relationship that's successful, we need to know who our partner is and what's important to them, and likewise to feel known well by our partner. The second level of the sound relationship house is what we call fondness and admiration. Now, what is that? I mean, it all sounds pretty obvious, right? We love our partner. Well, fondness and admiration is not just that. You have to express your care, your fondness, your love, and your respect for your partner. How do you do that? Well, you do it with words, simple words like I love you, or different kinds of compliments. You can also do it with touch, very sweet, tender touch that really helps your partner feel your love coming through your hands, your arms, your hugging. That is fondness and admiration. Passion and sexuality is part of that too. All ways of expressing. The third level is what we call turning towards. Turning towards means when your partner makes a bid for connection, meaning they either call out your name, or they ask for something from you, or they start a conversation with you that they want you to participate in. All of that are ways your partner is turning towards you, and you can respond in a whole bunch of different ways. You can respond by turning away and just ignoring your partner's bid for connection, or you can turn against your partner and say, stop interrupting me, I'm trying to read. Or you could turn towards your partner and say, wow, that is a beautiful bird outside. I'm glad you pointed it out. That's all turning towards, right? So that is one of the strongest, most important ways of creating a strong relationship. Here's why. Your partner needs to feel connected with you. And when they make a bid for connection and you respond to it, what you're doing is creating an emotional bank account, kind of like adding money to your savings account, right? Here you are, adding connection to your emotional bank account, so that if you have a bad time or a bad fight or whatever, to take some money out, well, you've got some left over. That is very important in sustaining the relationship. So that's the third level of the sound relationship house. The fourth level is what we call either the positive perspective or the negative perspective. And let me explain what that means. This isn't one that you work on directly, but it is deeply affected by what the bottom 3 levels are. That is love maps, fondness and admiration, and turning towards. And that perspective, positive or negative, is also affected by conflict management in your relationship. What it means is, what is your overall attitude toward your partner? Do you give your partner the benefit of the doubt? Do you think to yourself, oh my God, they're in a bad mood today. They must have really slept badly last night. I'll give them a little space, I think. That is a positive perspective versus the negative perspective. And the negative perspective comes typically from either a lot of turning away in the relationship where you're not responding to each other's needs, or really awful conflict management where there's been a lot of criticism or contempt, stonewalling or defensiveness. What those create is the negative perspective in that you expect whatever comes out of your partner's mouth to be an attack. You think your partner's going to criticize you, and you might even hear that even when your partner says, I love you. You'll think they're lying and trying to get something out of you. That's a classic negative perspective. So in order to change the negative perspective to the positive perspective, well, you work on those bottom 3 levels, but you also may want to work on the 5th level, which is conflict management. So notice, I'm not saying conflict resolution, right? Here's why. We found in our research that 69% of all problems that couples struggle with are perpetual issues. They never go away. They never get fully solved. And that's because they're based on either differences in personality or differences in lifestyle preferences. So we have a number of ways of helping with conflict management that we found in our couples who were successful. And here are a few of them. One is that when one partner brings up a complaint, they do it gently. They don't do it with criticism or contempt. They instead will say something about what they feel and then describe the situation, not the personality flaw, but the situation that's created the feeling, and then what they need and what their positive need is especially important. Positive need means what you do want, how your partner can shine for you, rather than what you resent or you don't like. So an example of this, what we call soften startup, as part of conflict management is, I'm feeling worried. There's the feeling that the bills haven't been paid yet situation, right? Would you please pay the bills tonight? There's your positive need. See how different that sounds from, you're so lazy, you haven't even paid the bills yet. What's the matter with you? There's the criticism. Which one feels better to you, right? That's soften startup. So that's how you bring up an issue. Secondly, a lot of people will explore how the other person feels at a very deep level by asking each other some really important questions to understand their point of view at a deeper level. And those questions have to do with the person's values, the person's history, feelings, maybe their ideal dream, and why something is so important to them, or if there's an underlying purpose, all of those about their position on the conflict issue. Those kinds of questions really deepen your understanding and your compassion for your partner, even though their position on an issue may be very different than yours. Then you can work on compromise, and even with perpetual issues, you can have compromise around the edges, a little temporary compromise. And the best way to do compromise is first, each of you takes your position on the issue, separates it, what you cannot compromise on, and what you're more flexible about and can compromise on. And then trying to figure out a good compromise around what's more flexible while preserving for each person what they're inflexible about, what is really so true to the core of who they are that they can't give up on that part. That's how people compromise best in a successful relationship. And one more piece of conflict management is processing how your communication went wrong. Perhaps in a bad fight, it's really important to know how to talk about what went wrong and really understand each other better in terms of maybe they got triggered. Something from their past came up while you were having the bad incident that just made them go haywire. Who knows? But it's really important to understand each other better through processing miscommunications and figuring out how to do communication better. The next level, and we're at level 6 now of the 7 principles, is honoring each other's dreams. So what's that mean? Well, every person is a philosopher. Every person is a dreamer, no matter what their IQ, no matter what their education, no matter what their occupation. Doesn't matter. Every person has dreams for who they wish they were, what experiences they wish they could have, what they want to contribute. So talking about each person's dreams for their future or for their now, their present, is a wonderful way, first, of knowing your partner better and then talking about what your partner needs to really fulfill that dream they have. In a successful relationship, you can't always do that, but you try to as best you can. That's honoring each other's dreams. And at the top, the attic of the sound relationship house, the 7th of those principles, is creating shared meaning. And what does that mean? Well, doesn't mean you have exactly the same values or the same sense of underlying purpose and meaning for your life that your partner has. What it means is sharing what those things are for you with your partner, telling your partner what is most important to you, what your values are, what your mission and purpose is for being alive today. That's creating shared meaning, and that gives the relationship a lot of depth. Now, finally, those are the 7 principles, but let me add 2 of those supporting walls that hold up those 7 levels of the sound relationship house. One is trust, the other is commitment. Trust means trying your best to be there for your partner when your partner needs you and building trust through doing that, right? So if your partner gets sick, how do you behave? Do you try to take care of your partner? Bring them tea? Bring them a nice meal that's easy on their stomach? Maybe fluff up their pillows a little bit? That might be being there for your partner when your partner is sick, if they prefer that. How about when your partner is sad? Are you there for your partner? Well, what does your partner need when they're sad? Maybe they need a hug. Maybe they just need to talk about their sadness and what they're sad about and have you listen. Those are ways of building trust in a relationship just by answering the question with your actions of, will you be there for me? The other wall that we think is very important is commitment. It's a little different from trust. Commitment means I'm on this journey with you for life. You are my partner till I'm not here anymore. Loyalty is what commitment is all about. Really being there on your life journeys together. That sense of commitment that each of you is really there for the other and will be through time into the future. That's commitment. And those are the qualities in a relationship that create the very best of relationships, the successful ones,